Happy Halloween, everyone, and what a way to celebrate Halloween than to talk about Final Fantasy, right? But not just Final Fantasy, but about the shit-tillion of monsters and creatures that you fight throughout the entirety of each game. Some basic, some annoying, some stupid hard, and the subject we're hitting today, scary. Monsters are naturally scary, right? Well, seeing how monsters and animals are pretty much one and the same in the world of Final Fantasy, I guess you could say they would be the 10 scariest creatures in Final Fantasy. But wording aside, Final Fantasy is home to many monsters that can be quite cute, freaky, or outright hellish. And since Halloween is all about the monsters, I'm going for the most hellish and outright most unpleasant monsters in Final Fantasy. As per the rules, I will not be using end bosses or near end bosses as candidates. They are meant to be the way they are, I believe, and to be honest, some of them are pretty fucking scary to look at. I will not be using some summons for this list. To be specific, summons that make their way into almost every Final Fantasy ever made, since the introduction to them in 3. So, Ifrit, Shiva, Ramuh, Bahamut, Chocobo sadly, Leviathan, Odin, Titan, and sadly, no Phoenix will be showing up on this list. One-time summons and lesser summons like Carbuncle or Goblins are allowed. Lastly, don't expect my list to be similar to other lists you see online. I have my own opinions, and therefore I care little about someone's opinion on certain monsters. But you are free to give your own list and reasons why you think they are scarier than mine. Who knows, I might find it amusing. So, with the boring stuff out the way, let's get started. Number 10. Bombs. Bombs are the meddlesome creatures slash summons that blow up after being hit a few times. They are not fun. They will blow up if you ignore them, and it's so fucking annoying when they blow up and take out your strongest guy. Oh fuck me! There is no nice point about bombs. When they blow up, they want you dead, and it's not like they just blow up after being hit. In some games, they actually grow. I mean, what the fuck? They're scary enough being dangerous if left unchecked, but they just get really freaky looking when they decide, oh, nope, getting larger. Can't handle this, can ya? Your ass is about to be blowed up. I mean, look at that. No, not that. That is a bomb. They are fucking scary looking and stress inducing. Number 9. What the fuck? This, ladies and gentlemen, this is a worm. Yeah, it's pretty big, isn't it? Motherfuckers had to make an enemy the size of my ex-girlfriend's booty. But seriously, think back to a day when you played an old Final Fantasy game as a kid, and out of nowhere comes this big grotesque looking mofo. Your first reaction should be, the fuck is that? My first reaction was, that's disgusting. I'll admit, they weren't so scary in the early games of Final Fantasy, but when it came to the 3D ones, well, specifically Final Fantasy X, holy shit! Is that a worm? It could damn well be related to the ones from Beetlejuice. This thing was one of the scariest things for me in 10. You're just walking around the desert for the first time due to plot, and then when you meet your first encounter, you end up with this thing. In what world is it okay to make an enemy swallow one of your party members and expect it to be okay? The first time I encountered this, I thought I lost them forever. This thing, if it wasn't for the fact that it's not hard to beat, I would have put it higher. But since it's not all that hard to kill, it just stands in the line of ugly looking with its jump scare introduction. Oh, for the love of... Give them back! Number 8. This one is pretty scary. Okay, think about a plant that walks, has teeth, eats people, and shows its mouth or stomach all the time.
You sing and you sing.
Feed me, Carbon! Feed me now!
I can't.
I'm starving!
Why, we get Ochos, of course. These guys actually come from Dungeons & Dragons, if you believe me, and they're just as scary in there as they are here. My first real fright was from 10, when you meet this King of the Forest, Lord of the, I don't know, or something, when you go to pick up Ifrit. I avoided that thing at all costs. I distinctly remember Ochos being a nightmare to both fight and look at. I mean, is that its stomach or mouth? I can never tell, though the other Ochos have clear view of what that thing is. It's a mouth, and it looks hungry. And then there was holy fucking shit, what happened? Did the Monster Concept team decide to make Ocho a Kaiju from Godzilla or what? I may have not liked 13 so much, but I have to say, holy flying shitstorm of Ken Watanabe. This thing is scary. Is this supposed to be a plant monster or a moss-covered rock with a monstrous mouth? Number 7. I just need to ask, what exactly is this thing? Marlboros are these plant, snake, stomach things that has a 33% chance of using bad breath. In my case, it's about 99.9%, seeing as every time I meet one, it ends up spewing fumes over my entire party anyway. What? You're saying they aren't as bad as I think they are? What's this? I'm just freaking out because they look like Medusa on a bad day? Guys, these things are no pushovers, especially with bad breath. It inflicts almost all status ailments, give or take a few actual deadly ones. It's like whenever I meet a Marlboro, I enter a game show where I pick my prize. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of Marlboro's Pick Your Poison. I'm your host, Marlboro, and today we have a couple of unfortunate assholes just waiting to be covered by my bad breath. Here it is, folks, the bad breath roulette, and we have everything. It's never a good time. I never have any good moments with them, and the further the games evolved, the worse they became. Every single game just had them to be dickish, and when I saw this thing in 14, I done near shat myself. Camera turns around and holy whoa, what the fuck, man? Not only are they scary, but that bad breath, man. That bad breath. It's never a good time. Oh. Number 6. You know, trains are very nice and pleasant things to experience. I once was on a 2-day train ride with some friends and had a pleasant trip while enjoying the fun to be had in a train. So how does Square Enix make trains into a nightmare hall of metal delight? By making it haunted. The Phantom Train is one scary mother trucker or vehicle? The thing is a boss in some games, but in one, it happens to be a summon called the Doom Train. The Phantom Train is an exclusive boss in Dawn of Souls. A boss in 4 After Years wasn't fond with that title, and more prominently for me, Final Fantasy VI, where the train was a boss and was suplexable for some reason. The boss fight wasn't hard, but the fable and myth the train was derived from is one of the scariest things I've ever heard as a child. Do you guys know of the funeral train? The funeral train of Abe Lincoln was the train that held his body as it went from Washington, D.C. to Springfield, Illinois. A bit of a history for you. But did you know on the anniversary of Abe's death, this very train rides the tracks from D.C. to Springfield as a ghostly phantom? It is said that there is no one riding the train, no one operating it, ghostly lit, and that it stops the watches and clocks within its range. I heard all this from my friend who owned the game and would remind me of the folklore every time I would reach the boss. I'll be honest with you, I live in an area with trains running, and I used to live in the Philadelphia area. A ghost train at night is something I used to fear when I had to wait at a train terminal by myself at night when I was going home from my friend's place. That never was a pleasant memory, and because I'm talking about the Phantom Train right now, I keep replaying the moment when one time a train came by on a Sunday and I saw no one in it. There was no one in the train, and I was like 15! Memories I'm not so fond of remembering. Number 5. Imagine space, vast, infinite, and possibly the most mysterious thing in the whole universe. That and why my brother hates my mother's meatloaf. Well, think of all that inside a cavernous maw known as Atomos. I had a hard time fighting this thing in Final Fantasy V, where this thing actually knows the spell Comet. It would knock out a character and then suck them up, removing them from battle altogether. I had a difficult time fighting it since then, but it amounts to nothing compared to its other versions. In Final Fantasy IX, Atomos was summoned by Queen Brande in order to destroy the city of Lindblum. The thing was seriously something out of my nightmares. I mean, look at that thing! You thought Kirby was a black hole? Atomos is an actual black hole, and I had fears at the time I had to face it, but since you never do, it was a bit of a relief for me. Fighting this thing? Oh, no, forget that. Give me the 5 version any day. And yes, I know it's a summon, so don't try to tell me he was a staple in the game. I said staple summons, not monsters. And for those of you who want to know its damage output at 9, well, I'm no mathematician, but if I'm reading that right, it's the level of the amethyst plus 30 solution times the target's max HP divided by 100, and for half damage, it's damage for plus the equation I won't repeat times the total by 2 and then divide by 3. Take it as you will, but all I know is that its mouth is fucking scary. Just check out what it looks like in 11. That's fucking scary! Number 4. This thing is in almost every Final Fantasy, and in every version, he is a bitch to kill. Skin as purple as the foulest demon, eyes as fearsome as the devil himself, if not worse, horns that can skewer anything, and no matter what form it takes, it's always so fucking scary. The Behemoth. The Behemoth is a staple in the Final Fantasy franchise since its debut in 2, and I even remember the first time I met one. It was a boss, and it nearly killed me every time. I first met this thing in the now number 2 version of Final Fantasy. It almost whipped my ass and I had no idea how to deal with it. So lo and behold, this thing becomes a mob you meet in the field. It wasn't all that bad, but it was fucking annoying. I especially hate the ones from the 13 series, where it just roamed the fields minding its own business. That is until it decided that I looked like a good meal to have for a snack. I don't know what it was, but he was very difficult the first time I met this thing, and in Lightning Returns, it's fucking everywhere. I do get a laugh from this game though, since you can actually kill enemies to extinction. And let me tell ya, the Omega version of the Reaver is not an easy thing to kill. It took me 15 tries just to kill him the right way, and don't get me started on the 1 in 11. I myself only seen it once, but that thing is fucking huge when you see it. The Behemoth is possibly the only thing that scared me as a kid in 11, as when I was little and innocent, you know, before porn and late night bar hopping. I met with a Behemoth and it destroyed me. I don't know what I was thinking, but it just wouldn't leave me alone once it spotted me, just following me and swiping at me until I died, and it only took 3 hits to kill me. And yes, I was a paladin. Behemoths are scary. Even their lore is scary. A giant powerful beast that must fight Leviathan at the end of the world, destined to kill each other? I don't even know what this thing is supposed to be. A hippo? Rhino? Elephant? Human? Boar-looking motherfucker? I don't know, but I wouldn't want that thing walking around IRL. Number 3. This thing is possibly one of the biggest mistakes I have ever made in my life. This is Absolute Virtue, one of the most infamous bosses I have ever fought against in Final Fantasy XI. Why, you may ask? Because this thing was absolutely the longest boss fight I have ever fought against. Do you want to know how long it took to kill this thing? 12 hours! This thing isn't really scary to look at, but it took 12 hours to kill. And for what? Some rings and a fucking rod. Oh god. Virtue has since been changed due to this infamous problem. Too bad I was one of the first to fight him back in the day. My party was utterly exhausted when we were done. We didn't go back into Final Fantasy XI until a month after, all because we were just too tired and traumatized with such a long-ass boss fight. Still, even though it's not scary looking, the thought of ever fighting this thing again is a scary nightmare in itself. I just can't do it. I can't. No more. Please, don't make me play it again. So many 2-hour abilities were being used on this thing. Who was it who even gave ideas for this kind of boss? I would love to give my condolences. God, this thing is worse than Yzmat. Number 2. Warning, this contender is both awesome and fucking scary. Zoroark is without a doubt awesome, but he's also something to fear. I'll make this short. Zoroark is an Esper from the world of Ivalice, created by the gods to pass absolute judgment upon its foes, more formally, Ultima. It was he who stopped her rebellion against the gods, and it was he who stopped all the Espers from their rebellion. Zoroark was so feared by the gods, they had to make sure he was controllable, so they kept him in the form of a child. Something easily controllable, right? Wrong! Zoroark is the most powerful of all Espers. What? He's not as well designed and scary looking as the other Espers? Okay, just wait right there. Give me a second. So, got something to say now? If you haven't noticed, he can obstruct and destroy time and space, so shut up! And finally, number 1. Their eyes glowing in the dark as they walk the halls of their territory. They're aware of cloak and brown, the color that seems just depressing. Their lamps that glow in the halls, foreshadowing your death, and the knife. That knife, which no matter how you look at it, will end you. These creatures have a lore as mysterious as their very existence. Why must they be the epitome of horror that even makes every contender on this list look like Babby stewing in a soup bowl? You guessed it, the Tomberry. Tomberry is a green-looking fellow with yellow eyes, fishtail, no bigger than 3 feet, has a cute snout, dressed in brown, and is one of the hardest motherfuckers to kill! In almost every game, the Tomberry was the one that loved killing your fun. Literally! Okay, so it first appears in Final Fantasy V, where it ignores defenses and does its signature move, Chef's Knife. Why chef's knives? Are they chefs? They sure don't look like ones. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. They do sort of look like chefs. A chef that brews up players in a pasta for breakfast, lunch, and den. Not to mention that they have a unique way of fighting. They don't really attack you like other monsters. They sit on one side of the screen and they walk menacingly towards you. Once they reach the side where the character resides, they stab you with their knives. And more likely than not, they will kill you. This attack, as I said, ignores defenses and will either do immense amount of damage to you or just outright kill you. In 6, its damage is dependent on how many steps you have taken. So if you were the explorative type, these fuckers outright killed you. In 7, they slowly stepped towards the party and just killed you. No algorithm to take by. Nope, they just killed you. Oh, but wait! In 8, you not only fought them, but if you were able to kill the Tomberry King, good luck, you could summon one! Isn't that great? You want to know the math to make this bad boy awesome as a summon? So, tell me if you understand this bullshit. Let's move on. I'll skip 9 for a sec to say in 10, they have this ability called Voodoo that does massive damage to Aeons, which is one of the only ways I could kill these high HP bastards. And coupled with their signature counter move, Karma, they can be a real bitch to handle. Karma does damage to any enemy that attacks it, and its damage is based on how many enemies the party has killed throughout the game. Isn't that fantastic? So, why did I skip 9 for a moment? Because if they reach you in that game, they do 9,999 damage without fail. Yeah, sure, the grudge is small, seeing as smart people wouldn't go around killing Tomberries, which is in place rather than other enemies killed as a whole, so its counter isn't as powerful, but is still dangerous. And do you want to know how hilarious they are in 13? So funny! Especially every time they hit you, you can hear a scream out of nowhere. What's more is their lore in 11. If you want to know more about that, well, here's a link to my 11 lore where I talked about their origins. But just to tell you, if there was one enemy in 11 people avoided, it was the Tomberry. Why? Because for every Tomberry anyone killed, they were specifically given more damage by other Tomberries when they fought another. Meaning when a party killed a Tomberry, the Rancor of a Tomberry would forever hold a grudge to those specific people. Meaning the Tomberry they would fight next would be stronger against them. Oh yeah, sure, the new guy would be okay, but you're fucked! Tomberries are honestly the scariest things for me in every Final Fantasy game they're in. They have horrible backstories, they have nightmare-inducing abilities, and they are hard to kill! Have you ever heard of the Jack-o'-lantern myth? Yeah, they seem kinda similar. Yeah. Tomberries are the scariest thing in Final Fantasy, and I won't take any other monster as such. I'm sure you guys have something similar to, Tomberries as a scary thing in video games. Hell, why not give me a comment on what freaks you out in a video game, or perhaps it's in Final Fantasy? Why not? And if you like what I do, subscribe, please, or else they'll keep staring at me. Why? Why do you exist? Stop staring at me! Leave me alone! No! Stay away! No! Ah! Ah!